And the beauty of working with you and I'll just speak for myself in this moment, is that we are late identified autistic and ADHD people who I didn't find out until I was like 42. And then, didn't get diagnosed until I was like 45 or something. And so, um, these are experiences that we're doing. And so we have the clinical and the professional background to be here and meet, but we also have the personal experience of just recently knowing what that means to kind of step through that door, of the mask and say, can I be here? Can I exist? Do I have to like earn my way and place in the world right now, or can I just show up as myself? And
So
that is
beautiful.
a wonderful privilege to be with people in that. And so some of the parts of the work is educating on like what does it mean to be masking? What is internalized ableism? What is the relationship of dopamine and what is the nervous system happening? What's happening in the nervous system in any given moment. And I think because this is both our special interest, like we
Exactly.
could talk about it all day long.
Yes. And yeah, I guess I just want to add to what you said of the lived experience we bring, um, that, and again, I'll speak for myself, that being late identified, not knowing I was autistic and ADHD. I think I learned I was ADHD maybe in my mid 30s and then autistic 48. Like it was just like very recently. And not knowing that and living in the culture that we do, I ended up in profound burnout, what I would call an autistic or neurodivergent burnout, multiple times throughout my life, with really profound skill loss. In that neurodivergent burnout, they talk about it's not just like a normal
Mhm.
burnout where you're just kind of sick of your job. It's
Mhm.
like you can lose really basic life skills. And so I've had a major hit to my vision processing, chronic fatigue syndrome, various just losses of capacities that I'd had before, executive functioning skills, certainly a huge exacerbation of ADHD challenges and things like that, and of autistic like sensory sensitivities in these periods of time, um, that without understanding what was going on, just felt like I was going crazy. I mean, I really several times thought, I am just going to get locked up. Like,
Mhm.
I am not safe to walk around the world. And
Mhm.
then once I understood, like, oh, yeah, if a pin drops, it sounds like it's reverberating for 5 minutes. Like, I'm getting a little towards burnout here. My sensory
Mhm.
sensitivities are flaring. I need to take a day off work. I need to take care of myself in some way. And, that was a big part of actually how you and I started working together years ago was, I needed your help because I needed to redesign my business. At the time, I was a therapist and I was over functioning in a way that was burning me out.
Mhm.
And I needed your help in looking at bringing accommodations and supports and redesigning my business and redesigning my life to really support my own unique moment to moment needs and
Mhm.
limits. And it's just been so beautiful to get to work together and to actually create a business together that keeps that neurodivergent health
Mhm.
as the primary focus, um, for ourselves as well as for
Yeah.
our clients.
Yeah.
And, you talked about being able to exist and that you exist in the room with your clients as well.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
modeling of you being there as your true self is so powerful. And something that I try to bring as well is just this is
Yeah.
what you get. Like, this is, I am
Yes.
exactly me, and you are allowed to be
Yeah.
exactly you. And I'm
Yes.
not going to ask you to ever be more than you are or different from how
Hmm.
you are. We're going to take at face value what you got in this moment, and we're going
Yeah.
to bring support for the rest.
Yes.
And it's just such a relief and such a more reasonable way of living life. And
Hmm.
just brings so much energy and joy, so much laughter. I mean, for the
Hmm.
amount of trauma work I do, the amount of laughter coming out of my room is ridiculous,
Yeah.
because it's just so life affirming
Hmm.
to finally love and
Yeah.
accept ourselves exactly as we are.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many beautiful moments when we're both, both the
Yes,
we're all like,
yes.
yes, so we're doing it. We get to be ourselves, and so much of life said that, we were too much or not enough or too sensitive, not recognizing the immensity of what our existence was and how much care we needed.
Yeah.
And, and talk about burnout for me, that's how I also discovered autism and for myself. And it was like, it was like before my life before that and my life after that. And I've had to really rebuild my life from the ground up. That I have had to like make distinctions. It's like almost like when we're in this new paradigm of how we're thinking about neurodivergence and autism specifically, for me, when I first came in and people were talking about burnout, they were thinking like, uh, I don't know, it just seems so much more mild than what I had experienced. I mean,
Yeah.
this was like, 10 panic attacks a day and not being able to leave the couch for weeks and then being able to function a little bit and then back on the couch and losing relationships because I was disappointing them and not being able to work and with my heart if my heart rate is rose at all. I was a contractor at the time, so if I was painting I'd just sit down on my bucket, wait for 30 seconds, get back up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like doing that. If I rode my bike and and so at some point it was like, what is happening? I can't even ride my bike. If I went over a bump, all of a sudden
Mm,
I'm having a
the
panic attack, right? So
vibrations. Yeah.
it's just like everything kind of got so extreme and blown out that I was telling someone recently that like if something was turned off, like say an air purifier, but there was still that energy current, like the electrical current still going through, I could be 3 rooms away. I could feel it in my body. And that like
You
talk
have
about
to
feeling
go and
like
unplug
crazy.
it.
No one could hear me, but it would be like, what is it? What is it? Like I'd have to, and the minute I find it and unplug it, it would be like, I can live. I can
Yes.
sleep. So it's like earbuds and eye mask. And
Yes.
now that's not my experience as much. If I do too much, if
Yes.
I go beyond my capacity, but like well, a lot of things that you've taught me, even in this work together, is like I've built what I realized is like I built my window of tolerance. And at
Yes.
that point, it was like this big, and
Yeah.
I was existing in like almost zero tolerance to anything.
Yeah.
And then I just build, and that's like the work that we can do together with people is just help build that in such different ways, right? Like you're talking about like looking at making comfort. I mean, you're the one that taught me about pillows. It's like, oh, I can be comfortable. I don't have to like earn
Got
my
more
place
pillow right
here.
here.
And so just to have that ability to like bring in comfort. So many clients have come to me, and when I start asking about what their direct experience is like, well, I know who I am based on what the people in the room are telling me to be.
Mm, it's so
And I'm
exhausting.
that hyper vigilance of I have to be
Yes.
aware, and that the system has learned I must scan for threats around noise, and because I don't know when I'm going to be blindsided of like, why are you the way you are? And how many people from very, very little did all of a sudden we're just like in our room private and someone's like, why are you listening to that song over and over again? Or why are you the way you are? Instead of
Yes.
being curious about what's important to us. And so I think the thing for me specifically is like I know that a lot of folks find their way through um like traits learning on Instagram or um TikTok or things like that. And I think those have been very helpful. But it's important for me to say here is that although those traits are, can be funny or they're still qualities of diminishing the actual lived experience of being autistic. So great to identify with those, great to laugh at them, but also then come and really learn and sit and be with who you actually are and what's important to you and how you want to move. And a lot of the work comes, as I said before, is consent based about the values that you hold so that we can start understanding what your needs are, what the limits you have, and how to start communicating those with your loved ones, with yourself, with your loved ones, with your coworkers, to start understanding um, where you get to be yourself, to do it safely, to do it slowly. Because if that mask was actually a protective mechanism, as we understand it, or a way of survival, to just kind of think you can just like tear away at that. Can be really daunting as well. So it's important to just go
Yes.
slow and meet yourself where you're at as you go. And that's really my process. And that's really what I love to do most in the world is to really meet people where they're at and to really hear what's important to them and how they want to move.
Well, I love the way you work, Amy, and I'm so grateful to be your business partner and to get to do this every day. It's truly just been the best. So thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I just am so beyond grateful for you and the work that you do. And I know people personally who've worked with you that it's like very, very profound for them to start finding their way of being and to recognize that they can have comfort and they can, if they provide self-comfort, then they can actually be there and be safe enough. So
Like you said, we're
thank
allowed to
you.
exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.